Tonight on To The Point, a closer look at Governor Gavin Newsom's calendar, how he spends his time, and what his schedule may not show. 1 million California kids now have money set aside for their future. Tonight, the push to help families save even more for college. And an update to an ABC 10 investigation. Highland Charter says it has implemented all 18 state audit recommendations, the response from the state auditor.
After the game, we're smiling because we're kids again.
And seniors making their marks on the ice, thanks to the man who brought us Snoopy and Charlie Brown. With less than 3 months until California voters choose the next governor, we're taking a closer look at how Governor Newsom has spent his final year in office. Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us. On To The Point, I'm Alex Bell. We recently received his calendar showing where he's been, who he's met with, and what has taken up his time. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen breaks down the details and takes a look at how Newsom's schedule compares to past governors.
Well, Alex, we got his calendar through a records request, and it shows his schedule from January through April of this year. Now, keep in mind, the governor's office says the calendar does not show every Newsom's commitment. I also spoke with 2 former governor press secretaries about a typical day and how the governor's schedule is made.
Mr. President, you can't cut off critical food assistance for millions of people.
That was Governor Gavin Newsom during this year's State of the State address. The annual address lasted for about an hour, but according to his official state calendar, the prep took a lot longer.
Affordability? It's not a word we just discovered.
Through a records request, ABC 10 received the governor's schedule from January through April. It shows Newsom spent days rehearsing the State of the State address, adding up to nearly 20 hours.
We also know he has a little trouble with formal speeches, and he needs probably extra time to rehearse that. Every governor will rehearse a speech.
Steve Maviglio served as former Governor Gray Davis's press secretary.
There's things that show up in your calendar, things you don't. Part of being a governor is running as a candidate. So you have to do some political activity, which you're not allowed to use state resources for in any way, shape, or form.
A look at Newsom's schedule from February 21st through the 25th show, quote, no official business. But ABC 10 found the governor was in Rock Hill, South Carolina on February 23rd promoting his book, Young Man in a Hurry. On the same day, he also campaigned for the South Carolina Democratic Party. As the former press secretary for Governor Pete Wilson, Kevin Eckery emphasizes that sometimes things weren't put on the calendar for various reasons.
In Governor Wilson's first term, we had 27 declarations of emergency. We had the Northridge earthquakes. We had riots in Los Angeles. We had so many disasters, literally, that it was sort of like a week without a crisis. We didn't know what we were going to do.
When it comes to interviews with the press, ABC 10 counted 13 scheduled interviews from various national outlets like Bloomberg, MS Now, Vogue, and international press while in Germany. ABC 10 has been requesting a sit-down interview with Newsom on nearly a weekly basis since July 2025. The governor's office has repeatedly declined the request, saying, quote, not currently tracking any availability. Maviglio believes this is deliberate.
It's no secret that Governor Newsom wakes up every morning figuring out how he can be the next president. So I think his schedule reflects that. He'll spend more time talking to a podcaster in Tennessee than he'll be talking to the Sacramento press corps. And that's because he sees that as something that's going to advantage him politically.
But Eckery believes this is a sign of the times, and Newsom is aiming for reach.
That it's more difficult now than it was in the 20 years that years ago when I was doing it, because the press corps is smaller. The number of people who follow the day-to-day happenings in Sacramento just aren't as great as it was at one time.
And I reached out to the governor's office and asked if he's prioritizing national and international media over local and the protocol for scheduling sit-down interviews. His office says he does not prioritize international or national media over local media, and he regularly holds press conferences to make himself available for the entire California press corps. Again, Alex, I will continue to push for a sit-down interview with the governor, and if you want to see the full schedule, we've posted it online at abc10.com.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. Today, Governor Newsom celebrated a milestone for the Cal Kids program with 1 million children officially enrolled in state savings accounts to help pay for education or career training. Cal Kids launched back in 2022, giving eligible children up to $1,500 in education savings accounts. The Trump accounts, which you might be thinking, hey, this kind of sounds a little similar, but they're a little bit different. Children born between 2025 and 2028 get a one-time $1,000 deposit into a personal investment account, similar to an IRA. Helping kids with a financial boost is something that Governor Newsom and President Trump find common ground on, as the governor today encouraged families to take advantage of both programs.
I'm enthusiastic about encouraging people to get a Trump account. Hope people get the benefit of this program and don't look at the politics of it.
Newsom says this fall the state is launching a new tool to make it easier for families to see which local, state and federal accounts their kids qualify for, with the goal of letting them stack those benefits all in one place. Well, since California's replacement tire regulation was approved just earlier this week, there has been some pretty strong opposition, including calls for the state energy commissioners who approved it to unanimously resign. Starting in 2029, all replacement tires sold for passenger vehicles and light-duty trucks in California must have the same fuel efficiency as the original tires, meaning they must be designed to offer the same mileage and range. Though the Energy Commission states the standard is designed to help Californians ultimately save on fuel with more energy-efficient tires, local tire businesses, as well as even some manufacturers, including Goodyear, warn that prices will rise.
The technology to build those tires is a lot higher, so it will hurt every consumer.
We'll absorb the minimum of what we can, but everything will go down to the consumer.
Despite the strong pushback, the Energy Commission has remained firm that the new regulation will be beneficial. Now, none of the 5 CEC commissioners were available for an interview for this story. We know that Governor Newsom supports the new regulation, saying that the return on investment seems good. All right, let's get into some new information tonight on that deadly avalanche that killed 9 people near Castle Peak, near the Castle Peak area back in February. The group was led by Blackbird Mountain Guides. The incident prompted an investigation by Cal OSHA, who cited the company with more than $150,000 in proposed penalties for 7 fines. Some of the most serious violations include failing to correct the imminent hazard posed by traveling in avalanche terrain when the avalanche danger was rated high, failing to adequately identify and assess avalanche hazards, and failing to provide effective employee training, and failing to assess the need for protective equipment. Blackbird Mountain Guide says that it is appealing the citations. In a statement, they say in part, quote, "The citations do not reflect the reality of our profession or the safety program we have built." They go on to say, "We believe Blackbird operated in full compliance with all applicable regulatory requirements and consistent with the established safety framework of the broader professional mountain guiding industry." Still ahead on To the Point, Highland Charter School says it's fixed the problems flagged in a state audit. Are the reforms working? Then we hit the back roads, a hockey rink where players prove that you are never too old to play the game you love.
And this weekend is looking very seasonal. Temperatures in the low to middle 90s, sunnier skies tomorrow, but also breezier tomorrow. I've got a full look at that forecast after the break.
We do have some breaking news. We have been following the Clover fire that burned near Grass Valley, destroying a home. Cal Fire now says they have 1 person who has been arrested for arson. That person is now being booked into jail. This fire started just before 2 this afternoon. We will have more on this story coming up on Late News tonight at 11. I do want to hand things over to Brendan Minchef, our meteorologist here. Brendan, again, we are seasonably warm. It's just so dry. We don't even really have anything that's fueling these fires.
Yeah, except for the fuels themselves are dry, right? But you're 100% spot on. Perfectly seasonal this afternoon in the low 90s across the valley. And they're really, at least in the vicinity of the fires today, that fire, the Clover fire, and then there was another one down in Calaveras County, the Ross fire. There wasn't even much wind, less than 5 miles per hour. So thankfully there were no real fire drivers today, but nonetheless, fires can start and spread. 92 in Sacramento was the high this afternoon, 93 in Stockton, 95 in Modesto, some mid-80s in the high country. Tahoe was running 6 degrees warmer than normal, but across the valley we were right where we'd expect to be, within a degree or 2 of normal. For Sacramento, the normal high is 92, and we were 92, so perfectly seasonal. 86 in Sacramento at the moment, 90 in Stockton, 90 in Modesto, some 80s in the high country, and a much nicer delta breeze than what we've seen the last few days. 15-mile-per-hour winds out of the southwest. but it's gusting up to 30 miles per hour through the Delta. So there's plenty of that cool Pacific air coming into the valley this evening. Saturday morning starts off with clearing skies, temps in the upper 50s and low 60s, about 59 Sacramento, 60 in Stockton, 63 in Modesto, some 50s near Tahoe. Saturday afternoon, seasonal and breezy, 93 Sacramento, 94 Stockton, 94 in Modesto, some low to mid 90s across the foothills and near 80 up near Tahoe. So a nice wind will continue through the late evening hours, but look at these wind gusts across the high country tomorrow, up towards 40 miles per hour across the Sierra Crest with another nice delta breeze for the valley. So fire danger tomorrow will be elevated due to very dry feels and those southwest gusts of 25 to 40 miles per hour. But the highest fire dangers to the northeast, up towards Lassen County, up towards Modoc County, and up towards Siskiyou, where we've got that red flag warning for tomorrow for the low humidity and gusts 25 to 40 miles per hour. The winds are picking up as that low pressure moves into the Pacific Northwest and the high pressure stays off to our east. So seasonal temperatures, we stay dry. We'll have clouds at times in the foothills. We'll be in the 90s the next few days. In the high country, we've got temps in the low 80s. And here in the valley, temperatures very much where you'd expect them to be. The final 10 days of August look seasonally dry and seasonally warm. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, an update to our ABC 10 investigation into Highland Charter schools. Are new reforms working? And the Pentagon fires Stars and Stripes editors over censorship concerns, why they say the paper's independence is at stake. New tonight, the editor-in-chief, a top reporter and publisher of the military newspaper Stars and Stripes have been fired. The Pentagon fired two of them for insubordination. The former editor-in-chief, Eric Slavin, told the Associated Press he was dismissed after an interview he gave that objected to potential censorship by the U.S. military. Slavin says that he stands by the principle that Stars and Stripes must remain editorially independent as required by law. The newspaper's publisher, who announced his impending retirement days ago, was also dismissed. The news outlet is partly funded by the Pentagon. And now to an update on an ABC 10 Originals investigation, the Wild West of education. The California State Auditor has marked Highlands Community Charter and Technical Schools as having adopted all of its recommendations after ABC 10's reporting led to state lawmakers calling for an audit of the charter school system nearly 2 years ago. ABC 10 investigative reporter Adrian Thomas has the latest details.
Highland says it has now fully implemented all 18 reforms ordered after that scathing state audit. But the state auditor tells ABC 10 that designation does not mean the reforms have been independently tested or proven effective. And the state auditor says just because these recommendations are fully implemented, that doesn't change or withdraw any of the audit's original findings.
In 2025, the California State Auditor found Highlands had improperly received over $180 million in K-12 funding, engaged in wasteful spending, lacked proper teaching credentialing, and the agencies supposed to oversee it, Twin Rivers Unified, the Sacramento County Office of Education, and the California Department of Education all could have had better systems in place to oversee the charter school. This week, Highlands announced the California State Auditor had marked all 18 audit recommendations to the charter school system as fully implemented, with Highlands saying they have made reforms like stronger attendance systems, improved financial controls, updated policies and procedures, stronger documentation practices, and new systems meant to improve transparency and accountability. In a statement, Highlands Executive Director Jonathan Raymond said, "Integrity means we do what we say we're going to do. Standards mean we raise expectations and strengthen systems. Care means we build an organization that can serve students better. Full implementation of these recommendations reflects all three." In a statement to ABC 10, the California State Auditor's Office explained that when a recommendation is fully implemented, it means, quote, the auditee has provided sufficient evidence that it has carried out the corrective actions we recommended. But determining whether those reforms are effective over the long term is different and would require a new audit. The auditor's office also said independent testing of new systems or operations implemented by Highlands as part of their recommendations would also require a new audit altogether. The auditor's office also explained once a recommendation is fully implemented, it's not revisited by the state auditor unless a new audit is authorized. Finally, the auditor's office also said that continued evaluation and enforcement rests with the oversight agencies of Highlands, like Twin Rivers Unified School District, which holds Highland's charter, the Sacramento County Office of Education, and the California Department of Education.
Highlands has appealed the finding in the state audit, which says it improperly received $180 million in state funding. That appeal is set for an administrative hearing October 19th. The school also says it has taken some people to small claims court to recover money, but has not identified who or how much. Adrian Thomas, ABC 10.
We reached out to Twin Rivers Unified, one of the agencies responsible for overseeing Highlands, as Adrian just mentioned. The district said Highlands is independently governed and responsible for following the law and the terms of its charter. Twin Rivers added that it continues to monitor the school and can issue formal notices, deny a charter renewal, or begin revocation proceedings if it finds non-compliance. The district did not say whether it has independently tested the new reforms or whether any concerns remain. We're back after this. It is time to hit the back roads tonight. John Bartel visits Snoopy's home ice, where hockey players in their 70s and 80s prove that growing older does not mean you have to grow up.
At Snoopy's home ice in Santa Rosa, the players may move a little slower than they used to. But once the puck drops, age gets set to the penalty box.
We were kids out there. We're 70 plus. I played against some 80-year-olds, and they're out there smiling. And after the game, we're smiling because we're kids again.
If you know Snoopy, you know he always dreamed of playing hockey. And as it turned out, so did the man who created him. Peanuts creator Charles Sparky Schultz loved hockey so much that he built his own ice arena in Santa Rosa. Redwood Empire Ice Arena opened in 1969 not as a place for professional athletes, but as a home for people who simply never wanted to stop playing.
Once the game of hockey gets in your blood, there's no going back. You're either a hockey player or not.
Every summer, that passion brings hundreds of players from all over to Snoopy's Senior World Hockey Tournament. It's part competition, part reunion, and this year, part history. For the first time in the tournament's 50-year history, the event included an all-women's division. 4 teams were created with players from across the U.S. and Canada.
I think that Charles Schultz would be really proud of that because, again, you know, he was friends with, you know, Billie Jean King, who's part of the group that started the Professional Women's Hockey League, the PWHL.
Different players, different generations, but the same love for the game.
And then today, I think it is a lot more about being with other people and the camaraderie. You know, you can get lifelong friendships from playing the sport. It's really a great way to sort of get connected to a community.
Sorry, that's all right.
On one sheet of ice, the tournament's longtime players are still chasing the puck.
So many things in your life change, and this puts a little bit of stability in your life.
That sense of belonging goes back to Sparky himself. Players remember him not as a world-famous cartoonist, but as a friend and a teammate who shared their rink and their love for hockey.
He was just such a people person. Just so pleasant, enduring, kind. You couldn't say enough about him.
Schultz didn't build a professional sports palace. He created a second home filled with colorful murals, storybook charm, and generations of local families who spent their weekends together at the rink. At Snoopy's home ice, the scoreboard keeps track of the game. But for a few hours, nobody keeps track of the age.
Where's it hurt? Right there. The rib is sticking out.
From Snoopy's home ice in Santa Rosa, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the backroads.
Now that looks like a lot of fun. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If there's something you think the team and I should be looking into, you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. I hope you have a great weekend. Stay cool, and we'll see you back here on Monday.